It's baffled scholars for 2 millennia. It is a puzzle made of multi-dimensional elements, an enigma with roots that reach back to the dawning of time, perhaps before. Daniel explained part of it. Ezekiel and Isaiah had glimpses into it. John saw it all for the time of the end. That time is now. Join Derek and Sharon Gilbert on a journey that spans the course of history, from Eden to Mount Hermon, from Hermon to Babel, from Babel to Rome, from Rome to the cross, and from there to us. Biblical prophecy is coming true before your eyes, and to understand it, you must discern the times both then and now. It's time to unravel the threads of this all-encompassing prophetic paradox. It's time to unravel Revelation. From the beautiful Missouri Ozarks, this is Unraveling Revelation. Welcome, I'm Derek Gilbert.
I am Sharon Gilbert, and once again, we're still in our house, but the work on the barn is beginning. So we want to encourage you to go to the app, and in the conversation area, you're going to see announcements. And we may even start one that's just Build Barn Better and just tell you all about the barn.
Because as you're watching, this week, in fact, a contractor is coming to begin work to take that concrete floor out there that's oil stained and so forth, and clean it up and put down a floor there that will last for a long time.
Look gorgeous. Absolutely
look
gorgeous.
Great, but epoxy that will last with a 15-year guarantee and affordable price, locally owned company. So we're very happy that we can give them business.
But we can do this because of you.
Yes, it is only possible because of your generosity, and we are truly thankful. And we will have more to say about that. And again, if you download our free app, we will post updates there. That'll be the fastest place to find out about it. The good thing about our app, yes, we can post pictures through there. But as you go to the messaging section on the app, you'll find that there are sections for each of our programs, but also for prayer requests as well as announcements. And the prayer request section is getting a lot of use. And we are really, really happy to see that, because that's what we are commanded to do, to pray for one another. And this is a way to do it while keeping all of this stuff off of social media, where it's open to the internet and everybody can see it. This is a way of doing it among a closed community. So now, if you've got our app, you're free to join any of the sections there in the messaging. And but so far, this is really proving to be a wonderful way to gather, to share hopes, prayers, dreams, needs, so forth. And we encourage you to make use of it. You'll find it at gilberthouse.org/app.
We love going there. I love spending time in there. So yes, fellowship together through the app. And it's just at the top right, you'll see the 2 little balloons that represent conversation. So join us in there. So we are still in Isaiah 14.
Yeah.
That's it. We crawl our way through these scriptures, but honestly, we could spend an entire month just on a couple of verses.
We could, because there's so much here, and this all deriving out of that suggestion you had, which I think was a wonderful idea. We'll mention again, one of our wonderful tour guides from our Israel tour, Ron Silberman, mentioned that, you know why Jesus, the city where Jesus based his ministry, Capernaum, is named that? It's Kfar Nahum, which means village of Nahum. Like,
what?
Well, let's study the book of Nahum, which is a prophecy of the destruction of Nineveh. Well, we know from other research that Nineveh was called Babylon, one of several cities in the ancient Near East that was referred to as Babylon, which just means God Gate. So,
it may even have been the actual location of the Hanging
Gardens of Babylon, right. In fact, it was that scholar, Stephanie Daly, who's done this. She's really an esteemed scholar, and her theory is that the Hanging Gardens of Babylon were actually at Nineveh. And she's the one who wrote this paper showing that not only was Nineveh referred to as Babylon, but the ancient city of Eridu that we talked about as being the location of the Tower of Babel was also called Babylon, because from the Akkadian, Bab Ilu means just gate of God or gate of the God. So that led to all of this rabbit trail with Isaiah 14 connecting, in my view, Babylon and the king of Babylon, the Melech Bab El, king of the God gate, to Assur or Enlil or El, Molech. Same entity, different
By the
names.
way, if you're having trouble following all this, and this is relatively new to you, Derek and I have been studying this for years, so we're still just sort of scratching the surface on it, but you dig into this in your book, The Second Coming of Saturn.
Right. This is all in The Second Coming of Saturn. There's a chapter there And in fact, it's excerpted at my website. If you want to go to derekpgilbert.com, there's a section there called The Second Coming of Saturn, where the book is essentially, you get 90% of the book for free, broken up into about 2,000 word chunks. And the chapter called Lucifer, King of the God Gate, is all about this, but it's all in the book. It's all footnoted so you can see the original references. We're not trying to make stuff up here or find a sensational new way to read the Bible. We're just trying to dig into what the prophets knew 2,700 years ago.
We're trying to find the old way.
Right.
Not a new way. We want to discover the actual old way as they understood it when the prophets were speaking.
Right.
Yes, indeed.
So through Isaiah chapter 14, which is dedicated or directed at the king of Babel or king of Babylon, and then in Isaiah 14:12, Lucifer or Halel ben Shakar, which a scholar named William Gallagher pointed out was Enlil, which is this entity, again, that this really is all connected together to Assur, the Assyrian version of Enlil,
yes,
who is, again, all of these names from Shemihazah in ancient times to the future Abaddon or Apollyon, the destroyer. This connects to Isaiah 32. Last week we talked about how this entity was brought down to Sheol, to the farthest reaches or the far reaches of the pit, the Yerakate Bor. That phrase shows up again in Ezekiel 32, beginning at verse 22. Assyria is there. But remember that word in Hebrew, Assur, can mean, well, Assur, the chief deity of Assyria. Assur is there and all her company, although some translations render it all his company. Not sure which pronoun is appropriate
it's
there.
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah. Its graves all around it, all of them slain, fallen by the sword, whose graves are set in the Yerakate Bor, the uttermost parts of the pit. And her company is all around her grave, all of them slain, fallen by the sword, who spread terror in the land of the living.
Looking at the
That's 32:22.
Okay.
And then 22 and 23.
Okay.
This is a chapter that's a polemic against the king of Egypt, basically saying, you're going to die and you're going to fall into the netherworld along with all of these other nations and people. But specifically, when you get to verse 27, and they do not lie with the mighty, the Gibborim,
yes,
the fallen from among the uncircumcised. Now, there are some who believe that verse there, the fallen, actually a...
Could you read, start at 26?
Okay. Meshech Tubal is there and all her multitude, her graves all around it, all of them uncircumcised, slain by the sword, for they spread their terror in the land of the living. Verse 27, and they do not lie with the mighty, the fallen from among the uncircumcised, who went down to Sheol with their weapons of war, whose swords were laid under their heads, and whose iniquities are upon their bones, for the fear of the mighty men, the Gibborim,
yes,
was in the land of the living. Now, before we get to the Septuagint.
I know, the reason I'm stopping you is because not is not there. And they are laid with the giants.
Yes. And again, that was what I was going to get to.
Oh, thank you.
And they do not lie, they do not, or they do lie with the mighty, the fallen from among the uncircumcised. In the Masoretic text, which is what our English Bibles are based on, we don't see the giants, but there are those who believe that the word translated as fallen is mispointed and should be vocalized as Nephilim.
Yes.
They do not fall with the Nephilim, the fallen. They do not lie with the Gibborim, the Nephilim from among the uncircumcised.
No, I get that. What I'm confused about, and maybe you are too if you caught it, is that you said they do not lie. This one says they are laid.
You know,
this one disagrees with that one.
Right. I get that. I get that.
Okay.
And that is just one of the differences. Not sure why they translated they do lie and they do not lie. But I think the Septuagint gets it right because they are lying with the giants.
And that makes more sense to me. By the way, if you don't read the Septuagint, boy, you really need to. There's a 2-volume set by Douglas
Woodward.
I don't know why I can never think of his last. We
know too many Dougs.
10 or 12 Dougs.
Camp, Van Doren,
so many.
Woodward.
Lots of Dougs.
Yeah.
So Doug Woodward, yes, he has a great series, 2 books on it because It's called Rebooting the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
But he gets into the Septuagint because that was translated from the Hebrew into Greek in about the 3rd century or so BC. It wasn't until about 1,200 years later
Right.
that the Masoretic text was put together. We've now lost that 3rd century BC set of texts.
Right, the
in
Hebrew, right.
We don't know what it was actually
Right.
said, but we've got the Greek.
Right. And that gives us a real window into what they thought, how they interpreted these scriptures.
Right.
So if you're looking at the Septuagint then, and looking at perhaps the Hebrew and the fact that it was repointed, it's clear that the Jewish religious scholars in the 3rd century BC understood that to mean this, they lie with the uncircumcised mighty ones, the Nephilim,
Yes,
the giants
the
who went down to
giants
Sheol.
that fell of old is
Right.
what it says.
For the terror of the mighty men, the terror of the giants, the terror of the Gibborim was in the land of the living.
Yes.
So Assur, who, again, going back to verse 22 and 23, is in this place, but in the far reaches of the pit, not in the midst of Sheol,
Right.
which is, let's see, where were we here? The mighty chiefs, verse 21, just prior to Assyria. And again, I'll start at verse 20 in Ezekiel 32, because again, this is a polemic against Egypt.
It's interesting. Verse 19 here is omitted, so
Yeah.
just many things.
Verse 19 in the Masoretic text, translated in English, whom do you surpass in beauty? Go down and be laid to rest with the uncircumcised.
Interesting.
Well, we can back up another verse here. Verse 18, Son of man, wail over the multitude of Egypt and send them down, her and the daughters of majestic nations, to the world below, to those who've gone down to the pit. And the reason I wanted to back up there is because the word translated majestic in Hebrew is Adirim, which means noble ones. We just talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
This is a verse that we referred to back from the book of Nahum. When you're dealing with the noble ones of Assyria, the noble ones of Ashur, the Adirim is known from texts, Canaanite texts, to refer to entities in the netherworld.
Ah.
So we've got, daughters of the Adirim nations
Yes.
to the world below, connection to the netherworld, which
Yes.
again, Satan, not in the Old Testament anywhere, or even in the New, really. That whom do you surpass in beauty? Go down and be laid to rest with the uncircumcised. Verse 20, they shall fall amid those who are slain by the sword. Egypt is delivered to the sword. Drag her away and all her multitudes. Then verse 21, the mighty chiefs.
No, read 20 again. It's vastly different in the Septuagint.
They shall fall amid those who are slain by the sword. Drag her away and all her multitudes.
Verse 20
Or
in the
Egypt is
Septuagint.
delivered to the sword. I'm sorry.
They shall fall within him in the midst of them that are slain with the sword, and all his strength shall perish. The giants also shall say to thee, be thou in the depth of the pit, to whom art thou superior?
Oh, okay. Well, that goes back to verse 19 up here in the Masoretic. Whom do you surpass in beauty? Go down and be laid to rest with the uncircumcised.
Isn't that interesting?
It's like somebody in the 1200 years between the Septuagint and the Masoretic decided to edit.
Oh, they do that all the
Thinking
time.
that they
There
were
are
clearing
parts of the
things up a
story of
little bit.
David. He
Yeah.
suddenly appears on the battlefield, and Solomon goes, oh, who are
Saul.
you? Sorry, Saul, who are you?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, hold on.
He's your shield bearer,
He's
Saul.
your shield bearer, and he's also been playing music for you. You know him really well. Who are you?
Yeah.
I brought my lunch.
It's like the Masoretic text wanted to make David look better, and so they changed.
Yeah, we need to punch up this scene.
Just to clarify, we're not saying that the Masoretic text on which our Bibles are based is wrong. It doesn't
No.
change any doctrines.
None. No.
But it does tend to de-emphasize the existence of other supernatural entities in the
Right.
spirit realm.
Which is why I love to go to multiple translations.
Right.
And that includes the Septuagint.
Just as the translators of the King James Bible suggested.
Said that we do, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a break right now.
And when we come back, we will deal with the prophecy of the destruction of the Watchers.
We're not going to make it. We're going to end up with another show, I know.
Sharon and I really appreciate your support, and that's why every single month we want to make a special offer available to you at the Gilbert House store. And now that we're into the holidays, we're offering extra specials.
We really are. You know, last year we had some holiday specials that people just really enjoyed getting. Lots and lots of you went and ordered there, and we thank you for that. We're doing the same thing this year. Lots of great deals, including Red Wing Saga specials, Derek's book specials, and blowout prices on all of our DVDs.
Yes, but if you prefer streaming video, so you get instant access in full HD.
And no shipping.
And no shipping, right. We've got special discounts available now at our online streaming site, gilberthouse.org/video. That includes even our full-length travelogumentaries, our Wars of the Gods Volume 1 and Volume 2, now at a special discounted price through the end of January.
That is such a deal. And by the way, those of you who have loved Vicki Joy Anderson's book, They Only Come Out at Night, that book is also on special December and January.
We want to make this information available to you. We understand that around the holidays, finances get a little tight, so we're offering special pricing on just about everything in our online store. We're all in the middle of a battlefield.
We are.
And we all need good information. Please take advantage of our special offers, gilberthouse.org/video and gilberthouse.org/store. And thank you for your prayers and support.
Amen.
Welcome back to Unraveling Revelation. I'm Derek Gilbert.
I am Sharon Gilbert, and we are just slowly making our way through. But you know, I think part of it is you watch us. We discover things as we're
on the fly.
Talking.
Yes.
Yes, we do this all the time in Gilbert House Fellowship. So if you don't, go to the app, download it, go to Gilbert House Fellowship, because you'll hear us. Was that always in there?
Yeah, and we'll get to one of these when we get back to Isaiah 14. Which may not happen this week.
No, it's not going to happen.
But do take advantage of that. Our Build Barn Better project, we are making progress. As we said, that this week, as you're watching this, contractors coming out to put down the floor out there. Right now, it's just bare concrete. It's been used for 17 years, basically, to store equipment, repair cars, whatever. So it's stained. This will clean it up and put a very durable coating on it to make it a usable office space. And that means the project is really now taking off. And again, it's all thanks to your support.
Really is. Thank you so much. And thank you for all of your prayers. So download the app. There's lots of stuff there, but mainly we want you to start talking with each other, praying for one another. So make this a true fellowship.
Amen. Amen. Well, we are working our way through Ezekiel 32, the connections to Isaiah 14. And the reasons for this, again, is that this is all prelude to the study of Mystery Babylon, or Babylon the Great. We'll get back to the book of Revelation finally.
I can't wait to dig into that one.
But the fact is that Babel, Bab Elu, gate of God, or gate of the God, or gate of the gods, is a very old term that did not only apply to the city of Nebuchadnezzar. It applied to Nineveh, where the Hanging Gardens of Babylon appear to have been, thanks to the research of scholar Stephanie Daly. We are seeing in Ezekiel 32 this reference to the far reaches of the pit that we saw in Isaiah 14, which is the connection between Assur, or Enlil, or El, or Molech, this entity. Shemihazah, Abaddon, the destroyer, is located. And why we detoured into Ezekiel 32, because it's clear that this deals with, again, the far reaches of the pit where Assur is located, but also the spirits of the Rephaim, the giants, the Nephilim, in the midst of Sheol.
Yes.
Now, can they communicate with the watchers who were sent down to Tartarus, the bottomless pit?
Possibly. I don't think that they can actually get in there, but maybe the watchers are able to, communicate in some sort of what we would call telepathy.
Right. Minions, the same way like a mafia boss who's in prison can still control action out on the streets.
Yes.
He's got messages that are being smuggled in and out, perhaps. Speculation. We don't know. The Bible doesn't tell us. So, but in Isaiah 14, we had been at verse 17.
We're back to Isaiah
verse 15,
now?
Yeah.
We've left there Ezekiel.
So the connection there, Isaiah 14:15, you are brought down to Sheol, to the Yarkate Bor, the far reaches of the pit. The connection to Ezekiel 32:22 and 23 with Assur in the far reaches of the pit.
Right,
Assur,
journey to the center of the earth.
Journey to the center of the earth, yes. And then we see some really interesting stuff here. And this is where I stumbled onto this thing before we started recording. It's like, oh, wow, was this there before?
Yeah.
Verse 16, those who see you will stare at you and ponder over you. Is this the man who made the earth tremble, who shook kingdoms, who made the world like a desert and overthrew its cities, who did not let his prisoners go home? Now, In Hebrew and in Aramaic, the word for city is identical to the word for watcher. And I wonder, now, again, this is speculation because it's not clear, not explicit here. I think there are other verses where it's more clear. One of them is coming up here, where the connection between cities and watchers is more explicit and more likely. Was this entity, Enlil, Halel, Shemihazah, when he and his 200 colleagues came down to Mount Hermon in the pre-flood world and made a mutual pact to take human women and teach us things we weren't supposed to know, did they overthrow the watchers who were here to oversee and shepherd humanity because they were loyal to God?
Well, that is entirely possible. If we are talking about Shemihazah, though, this is pre-flood.
Right.
And I find it interesting that in the Septuagint it says, in verse, we'll start at 16, they that see thee shall wonder at thee and say, this is the man, or this is the one that troubled the earth, that made kings to shake, that made the whole world desolate and destroyed its cities. He's the destroyer. He loosed not those who were in captivity. So who are they?
That's a really good question.
Because if this is pre-flood, and I agree with you. So if he went to war with the other watchers and their children, and we do know that there was a Titanomachy and a Gigantomachy.
War of the Titans and a War of the Giants.
The Titans being the watchers.
Right. Well, yeah, good question.
Those who are in captivity, I know that's but verse 18 it's like suddenly we take a turn. And the kings of the nations lie in honor, every man in his house, and I assume that means
each in his own tomb.
Yes. But thou shalt be cast forth on the mountains, and this gets into a verse that's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, the kings of the nations, that is, Melachim, Goyim.
Yes.
Lie in glory, each in his own tomb. But verse 19, and this is one that we think is really, really interesting.
Now, I think just really quickly, lie in glory, lie in honor in the Septuagint. I don't think that this is saying these were nice guys necessarily.
No.
They are in a place where they're considered the ancestors and they are honored by the humans over and over and over again. So
the cult of the ancestors.
The cult of the ancestors.
Right. But verse 19, this is one that we've puzzled over. And again, this is one where that Hebrew watchers cities connection is more likely. No, I'm sorry, that's down in verse 21.
But we also get an Egyptian borrow word.
Right, the Egyptian loan word here. But you are cast out away from your grave like a loathed branch, clothed with the slain, those pierced by the sword, who go down to the stones of the pit like a dead body trampled underfoot. Now, the phrase loathed branch is puzzling. I know that we're dealing with 2,700 years of time, another culture, another time. But what does loathed branch mean?
Well, it says loathed carcass.
Loathed carcass or loathed dead body, loathed corpse in the Lexham, which is the newer Septuagint translation. Yes. A scholar named Christopher B. Hayes at Fuller Seminary wrote a paper on this, how the word branch is actually an Egyptian loan word. It's a homonym, which means it sounds identical to another word, but it's not the same word. In Hebrew, that word means branch, and we see Isaiah using that phrase when he talks about the branch from the stump of Jesse, as a prophecy of the Messiah. But here, the Hebrew word is actually not what Isaiah was using. He was using the Egyptian word netzer, which means divinized dead corpse or divinized dead god. It's used often, and it's well known that it's used to describe the god Osiris in Egyptian,
which is why he's green.
The god of the underworld. That's why his skin is green, right? So he's a loathed dead god, in other words, which is consistent with what we just read in Isaiah 14. Oh, you're in Sheol and you've got maggots for your bed and worms for your covering. You're just as weak as we are, the dead giants from before the flood. That's what's going on here. In fact, referring to him as like a dead body trampled underfoot, another name of this entity in the ancient world was Dagon. The main epithet of the god Dagon, as he was worshipped by the Amorites along the Euphrates River, was what was it? Bel Pagre, which means Lord of the Corpse. So this is Isaiah mocking this entity. Assur was Dagon, was Enlil, was El, was Shemihazah, I think, Molech.
I so love Isaiah.
Yes.
He had a mastery of language and a great sense of humor. And the
did.
Holy Spirit worked through those unique traits.
Yeah. And when we start to understand the religions of the ancient world, boy, this is why this is taking us longer to get through this than we thought, because there's so much in here that we don't understand. I think we're going to have to hold off on the whole prophecy of the destruction of the Watchers until next week.
Oh, I think so too. In fact, we could even, we're never going to get to Inanna and the whole Whore of Babylon. But this idea of Osiris and the dead god, we've got a version of Inanna right there with him, Isis.
Yes.
Who's trying to resurrect him, to bring him back, and to give him a child.
Right.
Even though he's dead.
Even though he's dead. He's in the netherworld. Wow.
And
I had never considered
he is
that.
dead because he was betrayed.
Yeah, by
his buddies.
Okay.
It's like the Titanomachy, except it's an Egyptian version.
That really fits, because the betrayal, if we assume that Satan, who Jesus identified as Baal in Matthew 12 and Revelation 2, verse 13, is correct, in the Egyptian religion, Osiris was betrayed by Set, who was identified as Baal by the Amorites.
Yes.
Baal, Set.
Set went from, and then later he was rebranded. To be a good deity.
Well, he started out as a good deity.
Yeah.
He was rebranded as the bad guy who betrayed Osiris, right? But at the time,
that's right. He was the one who killed Apophis.
Apophis, right? In the time of the Israelite sojourn, when Joseph was there, down to the time of Moses. Yes, it was believed by the Egyptians and the people of northern Egypt, who included the people around the Hebrews, that Baal Set, was a good guy who defended the solar boat of Ra from the chaos monster Apophis, Leviathan. But Osiris, in later years, by say 1,000 years after the Exodus, Set had become a bad guy.
And Apophis, which is the name of a rock which is hurling itself towards Earth.
Yes, approaching something wicked this way comes. 2029,
April 13th, Friday the 13th of 2029. And you back up 3.5 years.
Yeah, you get October 13th of 2025.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
boy, so many things. So next week, Osiris.
I had not even considered that connection.
And we'll even have on different clothes, because I'm getting hungry. I'm ready for lunch.
We will pick that up next week, and again, show you in Isaiah the prophecy of the destruction, not just of the Watchers, but of their hybrid children, the Rephaim. They are dead. They will not live. They are Rephaim. They will not arise. Amen. Yes, that and more next week on Unraveling Revelation.
Unraveling Revelation is a viewer-supported outreach of Gilbert House Ministries. Follow us online at unravelingrevelation.tv and gilberthouse.org. Contact us through our websites or drop us a line at P.O. Box 78, Crane, Missouri 65633.